Baiklah, selamat malam ibu-ibu semua. Hi Carla, how are you today?
I'm doing so good. Thank you for having me, Lisa. I'm really excited to be here today with you all.
Okay, I will introduce you first to all of the audience. We are here in Market Indonesia. We actually now at 7 p.m. at our time at Utah. You live in Utah, right?
Yes, I'm in
6
Utah.
a.m. 6 a.m.
6
is that?
a.m.
Oh, thank you so much for your time. Masih jam 6 pagi, ibu-ibu semua di Utah. Dan Carla bersedia untuk menyediakan waktunya jam 6 pagi di sana untuk kita semua. Saya akan memperkenalkan sebentar. Carla Belliard Rodriguez adalah Global Education Specialist. Dan Carla ini sebenarnya memegang ilmu sarjana ilmu pangan dengan fokus pada administrasi bisnis dan psikologi. Beliau juga adalah dula persalinan, dan beliau juga merupakan fasilitator bersertifikat untuk mengasuh dengan cinta dan logika untuk Love and Logic Institute. Nah, jadi Carla memang adalah orang yang paling tepat untuk membagikan kepada kita semua bagaimana caranya parenting with young living, loving our children and also ourselves. Don't forget to love and treat yourself very good
Yeah.
ya.
Mhm.
So
I'm
now
going to
I
talk about that too.
leave it to you, Carla. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I really, really hope that after this time together, you can realize that parenting um, is challenging, but that you can do it. Um, it's 6 a.m. here in Utah, and as soon as my daughter heard me coming down the stairs, she woke up. So you might see me doing parenting live without having planning that. And another thing that I want you to open your mind to is that I am not you and you are not me. And whatever you learn from today, make sure that it works for you. I am not here to tell you how to be a parent. We are all figuring this out together. What I'm here to do is to give you tools that you can use, to make your life easier and to make parenting a little more bearable.
Good morning. What's her name, Carla? Please introduce her to us.
This is Eva,
Hi,
and
Eva.
and she just woke up. I'm trying to get her to go upstairs. Can you go upstairs, mommy? I'm working. Yeah.
Boleh menyapa Eva, ibu-ibu yang menyalakan mic, yang menyalakan videonya. Thank
Okay.
you, Eva.
Sorry, guys. Okay, so let's start with what we're gonna be talking today. Like I said, this is difficult, but we can do it. We have decided to be parents, and now we're just gonna figure it out together. We're figuring it out at every step of the way that we go. So there is hope in parenting, and today we're going to be touching on 6 different things that we can do, and I'm going to give you some practical ways to do them, some examples, etc. So we're going to be talking about setting limits, what that means, why it's important to set limits for our children. Okay. Gracias, mi amor. Te puedes sentar aquí. Pero por favor, ya no más interrupciones porque yo estoy trabajando, ¿ok? We're going to talk about setting limits, enforcing consequences, and we're going to talk about a very specific type of consequences, applying empathy. What is empathy? What are enforceable statements? They're very effective and they help parents. Then we're also going to touch on not struggling with power. We're going to learn a little bit about how we could do that. That's a little challenging, but we can talk about it. And then we're also going to talk about the importance of strengthening relationships with our children. And above everything, the most important part is that I'm going to touch on self-care, why you have to take care of yourself while you're parenting. And then we're also going to talk about products, Young Living products that you can use when you're taking care of yourself, when you're trying to strengthen your relationship with your children, when you're overwhelmed, etc. Okay? If you have questions, the best way to do the questions is by sending it through the questionnaire, the question and answer, or through the chat, and hopefully Lisa can help.
Yeah, sure, Carla. So they will give us, if they have some question, they will write it down on chat column. And then at the end of the session, I will pick like 3 until 5 questions so you can answer it verbally. Ya, setuju ya Ibu-Ibu?
Perfect.
Kalau ada pertanyaan di akhir sesi, nanti saya akan bantu menanyakan kepada Carla. Saya akan memilihkan 3 sampai 5 pertanyaan. Terima kasih. Boleh disiapkan kalau sudah ada pertanyaan ya. Oke, hi Eva. Back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about limits. Limits are tools that help us promote positive behavior in people in general. You can have, that's what we call here in the United States boundaries. You know, there's this new buzzword going around, and we use a lot of boundaries. We use that word now. We're discovering what boundaries means. To set boundaries for ourselves with family members, that's like a protective measure. It could be an emotional protective shield, or it could also mean a limit that you set about a certain thing. So the reason why limits are important is because when there is a sign, when I am told that I am expected to behave a certain way, I, as a child, if I were a child, I could feel safe, right? I could learn, children learn to make appropriate choices when they know what they are expected to do, okay? So limits is about, when we're talking about limits with parenting, is you telling the child that he can touch everything in the room except for this cup, right? Now it's up to the child and up to you to follow that instruction. But the child now knows that he can touch anything else around the room except for this cup. And then the challenge becomes, how can you stay put in that limit? How can you enforce that limit, right? If we're talking about limits that are emotional, like boundaries, there's so many examples. But for example, I have a boundary, a personal boundary with my family members, not just my child, that I don't talk about dieting. That protects me because I don't like dieting. It hurts. I think dieting, it doesn't do good for people, and then it doesn't help me focus in what matters, which is my health, right? I can see health from another perspective, but when I'm hearing talking about dieting, then I start going out of my train of thought, and I think about other things. So those are just 2 examples of a tangible limit, such as do not touch this cup, or my boundary, my personal boundary, that I don't talk about dieting, so I reject dieting. So if I'm hearing people talk diets, I can say, hi, I would rather not talk about that right now. So that would be an example of an emotional boundary. So another good way to think about limits is the street signage. The signs in the street that tell us we're going right, we're going left, we're gonna stop. If there were no limits in the streets, we would probably be dead right now because we would not know where to go, right? We would not know that someone has to stop while the other person goes. If there was no traffic light, there would not be a way to drive, okay? So I really like this signage because it's telling you that you can go either right or left. And I think that that's one of the best ways to enforce a limit, to give choices to people, right? Unless there is something very specific and we don't have a way to give choices. But I'm going to show you later why talking about choices, why presenting ideas as choices for children work best, because you'll know later. But let's go back to limits. So what are the rules for setting limits? I'm sorry. What are the rules, if there were any? The first thing is that we have to keep in mind that our limits have to be set in loving ways. When we approach a situation without anger, without threats, without telling them, if you don't do this, I'm gonna do this. Or if we keep reminding about the limit that we set, then we are not going to be effective. So we set firm limits and we stay put on that limit and we keep our word so that then our children can learn that that is a limit, that my mom or my dad or my grandpa said that that was a limit and I'm going to respect that limit. If you're here driving in the United States and you violate a driving rule, you most likely will get a citation. If a police person catches you, there's not going to be any bargaining. They're going to give you a citation because it says that you're supposed to drive at 40 miles per hour in that kilometers per hour in that road, you know? The second rule to remember is setting a limit is not the same as saying an ultimatum. An ultimatum is a threatening way to say, you cannot touch this cup. You cannot touch this cup. That is an ultimatum. If you touch this cup, I'm going to take the TV from you. You know, that's not effective. We need to set a limit by explaining our limit, and we present it as choices, and we're going to talk about choices. And if I don't talk about choices, please remind me because we have to talk about choices, right? So if I want to enforce a limit around TV time here at home, I give choices. There's different ways to do it. For example, right now it's not time for TV. But mom, I want to watch TV. Please, please, you're so mean. Why does my friend can watch TV all day? We watch TV from 5 to 5:30 every day. And there's no going back. I sometimes could be flexible if I need to be flexible, but the limits are my limits and I can be flexible, not because my child is screaming at me that she wants to watch TV. Another example is at bedtime, we always have the same routine where we eat dinner, we clean up, and she's included in cleanup, even though she's 3. Um, and then we all sit on the couch on this old, worn out couch, and she drinks a bottle of milk, and we watch something that she wants. And when the bell rings, it's time for bed. We turn off the TV, and the bell says that it's bedtime. I remind her, and if there's any, please, I want one more episode. Mom, please. Oh, that's a great idea. We can watch another episode tomorrow. So I'm telling her clearly, we're not going to watch more TV, but I'm not using those words because I want her to listen. I don't want her to be angry at me. I want her to be angry at, oh, it's dark outside. It's already 7:30 and the bell rang. And then I can empathize with her, and we're also going to talk about empathy. And I can be like, oh, man, this really sucks, right? We were having so much fun. But guess what? Tomorrow we get to have more fun. And let me make a stop right here and say that this, what we're talking about today, works with everyone, every kind of person. It can work with your parents, it can work with your partner or your spouse, it can work with a coworker. This information is for everyone and not just for children, even for yourself. Okay, so setting limits using enforceable statements. I already gave you an example of an enforceable statement, and I will give you more. Don't worry, this is stuff that it takes some time to learn. But an enforceable statement is, for example, we watch TV every night from 7 to 7:30, and that's that. I don't have to argue anymore. That's my enforceable statement. Instead of saying, we're not going to watch TV right now because it's already late, and who do you think you are? You're only 3 years old. That is not effective. So, an enforceable statement, something that the child can do. It sounds positive, or it doesn't use the word no, and we'll talk about those. The next thing is to remember that the purpose of limits is to teach, not to punish. Limits are not punishments, because then your child, your teenager will learn that every limit out in the world is a punishment, or is to harm them, right? And we want our children to grow up knowing that if my daughter sees this on the street, this picture where she's driving a car and she has to go right or left, I want her to know that she should follow the sign or the limit, or else she's gonna be harmed herself. Instead of, why can't I just go straight? Well, there's a wall there. You don't go straight. You either go right or left. And we can do that at home by creating limits. And then the last rule is keeping in mind that limits are more about listening than talking. We use very little words to enforce our limit, and we are not fighting about it. We're not arguing about it. And then we listen. Why is this important to my daughter? Why does she want to watch this show? Maybe tomorrow I can remember that this is something that she enjoys, and I can make it a priority to sit down with her and learn about what she likes, etc. So again, we are gonna do this as it applies to us, right? Limits create opportunity for our children to own and solve their own situations. And if I didn't say this at the beginning, the reason why I'm talking about this right away, I jumped in is because we've all been locked down, overwhelmed, quarantined, and we have had to do so much all at the same time. And let me tell you guys, if it had not been for this knowledge that I learned from professionals, this is not content that I'm making up myself, I don't think I would be okay right now. I would be doing so much worse, I guess, because there's so much already that we have to deal with as parents or as mothers. Usually parents wear many hats at home where they have to work and they have to provide and they have to keep the house together, and there's all of these responsibilities on our shoulders. We want to be able to raise children that can take on their own responsibility and learn to solve their problems. Not that we're never going to help them, but it's just we want to raise self-sufficient people. We want to raise responsible people, right? I mean, who doesn't? I hope you do, because that's what's going to help them in life, right? They're not going to have mom and dad all the time, everywhere they go, to solve their problems, to do their homework, to fill out their exams, etc. So, anyhow, we're here today, and we're doing this. We're talking about this right away. When we set limits, we should know that when we set a limit and that limit is not respected by the child, then there will be consequences. And consequences are gifts. They should not be seen as punishment, at least from our perspective as adults. Children know the primarily or intrinsically or subconsciously that the nature of consequences. They learn this when they're babies. For example, they learn that when they're crawling, they get to learn what the depth, if they jump, if this baby jumps down that step, that baby knows that that baby will be hurt. That is something that is ingrained in humans for protection, right? And so babies take time to grow and develop. They take time to crawl because they're developing cues that tells them consequences. So this baby right here in this picture is just watching as he is watching down a step, and I think this baby's thinking, if I go one more step, I'm gonna hit myself. Probably because this baby already hit himself, he learned, oh, I can't go down that step because then I'm gonna hurt myself again. That is a consequence. That is the cause and effect. And this baby probably took a couple of beatings to learn that if he goes down that step, he'll hurt himself again. And so we know since we're little that there are consequences. And then something happens. Then our parents, some parents try to save us from consequences. And I am asking you today to reconsider how you are allowing your children to experience consequences. If you're not letting your children experience consequences, you're harming your children because they are growing to know a false reality. They are growing to think that whatever they do, nothing will happen. There will be no reaction to their action. So give your children the ability to experience consequences. So if you set a limit and you say, you can touch everything in this room except for this cup, that is my limit. And I'm not worried. I will leave this cup out. Actually, I want my daughter to learn how to respect boundaries and limits. So I'm not going to hide the cup. If the cup was harmful, I would probably put it up somewhere. But this cup is just a cup, right? But I am trying to set my limit about the cup. If I see my daughter touching the cup, then there will be a consequence. And when you set a limit, you can also express that there will be consequences if your limit isn't respected. You can touch everything around this room except for this cup. This is my cup. I really like my cup. And I wouldn't want it to be broken. And if it breaks, that's gonna suck. So I'm just already saying, well, this is mine. And there will be something happening if this breaks, if this cup is touched, right? So what happens? My daughter will touch the cup. She's 3. She's learning to not listen to mom. That's also something that comes natural to people. Let me tell you guys, you're not alone. If your children don't listen to you, please know it's part of their nature to be defiant. That's how they learn their self, their purpose, their leadership, their skills. There has to be defiancy in children for them to learn some things that are socially okay. So I'm sorry, So what happens? My daughter will touch the cup. I'm going to use empathy first, and I'm going to talk to you about empathy. And then I'm going to describe the consequence. And then I'm going to hand the problem back to my daughter. And I'm going to stay put with what I said because I'm going to say it lovingly. I'm going to say it empathetically. And if I'm not feeling calm enough to give a loving response, I'm going to delay my consequence. All of that stuff might sound like I'm talking, I don't know, a language that you don't understand. If you don't understand Spanish, it might sound like I'm talking Spanish to you. Because these are big concepts. They are different. And so we're going to talk about them. Yeah. So we're going to talk about each of these. So applying empathy. That's the first step to enforce a consequence or to allow a consequence to happen. And this will look like me. When I see my daughter playing with my cup, I'm going to be like, oh no. Oh, I'm going to express this feeling about, oh, something's going to happen. And I'm sad. I'm a little, wow, I don't want this to happen, but it will happen, right? And this comes out, at this point, it comes out naturally. And I really try to seem very real about my response. So it has to be something that works for you. I don't know if there's something that you say when something bad happens, like, oh man, or oh no, or, there's like, uh-oh. And I'm going to stay with that because then I can remember. And our goal with empathy is to teach the child, oh, this adult cares about me. 1, we always want them to feel, wow, my mom cares about me, that's for sure. And 2, whoa, I'm gonna have to face this consequence. And it's not my mom's fault. She did tell me that something would happen if I touched the cup. So that's not my mom's fault. Okay, I guess, okay, I guess I'm responsible for that. You know, eventually we want our children to think that way, and it'll take many multiple tries, you know. So applying empathy looks like that. So then what is empathy? There's two different concepts here. We want to do empathy, not sympathy. So sympathy is when you take part of someone's feeling and you feel like so bad for whatever's going to happen to them. So bad that when we jump into sympathy, some parents, because we love our children, we remove the consequence for them. We don't want them to suffer. So we take it from them. We don't want that. I'm sorry, that's going to take maybe some practice for some parents. We want empathy. We want the ability to show our children that we understand what they're feeling, because it sucks that they have to go through whatever they're going to go through. As if we're having them ourselves, because we can remember when we have made mistakes, but we're not feeling so bad for them that then we're not going to let them experience whatever they're going to experience, you know. And if I could talk about something else that is not this cup, for example, I mean, I can give you an example that is more appropriate for a teenager. Say a teenager gets a traffic violation citation. So one of your children took your car and he ran a red light and a cop stops them and he gets a ticket. What do you do? Do you pay the ticket for your child, or do you support them in the process of gathering the money to pay for the ticket? What do you do? There's one that's sympathy, when you're like, oh my goodness, no, so much money, here's the money, please go pay for this. Or there's the, oh my goodness, how did this happen? Tell me, how are you feeling? Wow. Yeah, I remember when I gotten those tickets. They really suck. So how are you gonna pay for this? And your child's like, what? You're not gonna pay for this? You have money? Okay, I could pay for this myself, but you have to pay me back. So when you find out how you're gonna pay me back, then I can give you the money. Which one is gonna teach them responsibility? And we can do that even with a 3-year-old. Not about the money, but we can do things that are appropriate to their age. So, why is empathy so powerful? Why is empathy the first thing we should always use when we are handing back a problem, when we are talking about consequences, right? Because it keeps everyone, including you and your child, it promotes thinking instead of fighting, because empathy is a good feeling. It's positive, you know, it's connection. Instead of judgment, is understanding. And because you're in thinking mode and your child is in thinking mode, hopefully, or when your child stops being frustrated, they will be able to think. Then they start to learn to own their consequences. And then because they're learning about consequences and how to own their consequences, then they stop blaming you for their problems. Because I've seen it. I've seen children blame their parents for their misfortune. It's your fault. Why didn't you? You know, and it's not. And that just causes more chaos in our family and in our relationships. And they learn and achieve instead of resist and resent. The thing with this concept right here, resist and resent, is that when when children keep growing and they stop respecting parents and they stop seeing their parents as their superheroes, they will do one of the other. And if they decide to resist their parents at all costs and then resent the parents for everything, then it's going to be a wild ride, and it's going to be a difficult relationship. It will be. So I don't know, does this resonate with you? Is this still sounding a little bit foreign? Let me know, because I hope that you guys are understanding this, and we're still on the first step, which is just talking about empathy. But if you could, I know that you're all muted, but if you could, just try to think try to repeat this with me. And this is just examples. This is very much American talk, right? You can apply it to your culture, whatever you guys say when there's something wrong. But it could sound, again, when just talking about, we set a limit and our child breaks the boundary or goes over the limit, what do we do? The first thing is empathy. And the words that you choose to say, the phrase that you use should be repetitive. It should be not repetitive in the sense that you say it over and over at the same time, but that you use that a lot whenever there's a situation. Oh, this is so sad. This must really hurt. This must really suck. Something like that sounds that you can say, that sounds real. There will be a moment when you're going to start to feel empathy because you're using words that are like understanding and like, oh man, this must really suck. And one thing that we want to avoid is to make it about ourselves. Stop trying to make it about ourselves or not make it about ourselves. So I'm not going to say, oh, I am so sad. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to say, this is so sad. Instead of saying, oh, I feel so bad for you. We're not going to use I. We're not going to turn the attention to us, because your child will learn to resent you because you're using the word I in the picture. You didn't have anything to do with your child's decision. So we're letting them know that decision that you made provoked a consequence, and that really sucks, right? Instead of, oh, I am so angry. I am so sad. Oh no, I don't like this. We don't want that. We want, oh, you must be upset, right? Or, oh, this is so upsetting. Anyways, sorry, I don't want to be repetitive, just trying to help you understand. Okay,
Okay,
so
Carla. Before you
now, yes?
continue, you just ask us, or all of us here, so maybe they can write in their chat because everybody here is muted. All of us are muted. Maybe
Okay.
so far, ibu-ibu sekalian, apakah cukup jelas yang Carla sampaikan dan apakah ini relate dengan kebudayaan kita di Indonesia? Ibu-ibu boleh silahkan chat, menulis di kolom chat. So Carla would know, are we still on on the same page, or maybe we are still
Yeah.
related between this empathy in US and empathy in Indonesia? Or maybe, are you still clear the message that Carla is sending to us? Is it clear or relate or whatever? You can send it,
Let
send
us know. Yeah.
Carla some chat. So Carla would know, or will she continue with throwing down, or is quite good already, or what? You can
Mhm.
send her a message in the chat room.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. There is a good comment here. We will get to it. How about if our children does not respect limit boundaries because they know that their parents are not capable of giving any punishment because they know parents love them?
Later on,
Okay,
Carla, I will choose like 3 until 5 questions. But now
okay,
I can see in the chat room, everybody says it's very clear, it's relate and clear, and we do need this kind of messages so we can have a more
perfect.
clear ways to educate our children and also to have a better relationship and understanding about the psychology of our children. So
Awesome.
yes, you may continue because it's very clear and
Okay,
it's very related. Thank you, Kak.
so you're
Makasih Bu Ibu
welcome.
semua.
Okay, for everyone to know, it is never too late. You can use these concepts with your teenager. They will hate you for a minute. They will not like you, but they'll understand, they'll learn. Everyone has the opportunity to learn, or we will always have the opportunity to set our limits and then we go with the flow. If they don't respect our limits, we will keep trying until they do, because this is about us parents protecting ourselves, right? Protecting our mental health. And also, it is about protecting them. It is about teaching them something that they will need to live in the world. So just keep trying, but we're not done yet. Now I want to do this activity um, where we see the expression and we say, what is this person feeling? It's one of those little activities that is kind of obvious, right? But there is a reason why I'm doing this. So in these two pictures, what are these people feeling? And you can say it in the chat. So what are these people feeling right away? Well, in my opinion, they're feeling joy. They're feeling happy. The smile is a universal, the smile is a universal sign that people are okay, that people are happy, that people are feeling joy, right? So what about this? This child is crying. She is upset. She's probably sad. She could be sad and angry. We see that face. We can tell right away what's happening with this child, right? Thank you for the people in the chat. You're awesome. What about this? There's this one and there's this one. There's the for this person, I think she's sort of surprised. And this little child right here, she looks scared a little bit, like, oh no, 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 what's gonna happen, right? Okay, so now, why did I do that little activity with you guys? Because nonverbal communication is very important. And I'm going back to remember how we're gonna talk to our children with empathy. We should never be sarcastic, or we should really talk to our children when we're feeling okay, when we're not so angry, because they can read us. They can read our faces. Babies can do that when they are really tiny. When they're babies, they can read people's expressions and they can mimic our expressions. When babies start to smile, they are in reality reading your face. They're trying to figure out, what is this? What is this? Why is my mom doing this with her face? And we're like, oh, the baby's smiling. And no, they're reading our expression. Did you know that? So studies estimate that between 70% and 90% of what we communicate to everyone is through nonverbal gestures. And if people can see they can read you 100%. If people can't see and they can hear you, they can read other cues. They can read your breathing. They can hear how you're walking. They can determine, oh, this person's upset or there's something going on. So human beings have the ability to read the nonverbal cues because that's also part of our survival. So what happens when you're in this situation? You have told your kids several times your limit. You have told them, okay, we can run when we are outside, and they're still running around and they're chasing each other, they're arguing. What happens? We need to reach delayed consequences. This is not a moment to tell them what will happen because you're fired up, you're hot, you're angry, you're probably upset, you know? So this is not a moment for that. So it's difficult to think when you're upset. We make threats that we can't act on because they're crazy. Like, I'm gonna kill you if you keep doing this. You're not gonna kill your children. That's kind of crazy. And that comes out when you're angry, right? It's just we say all sorts of things. We don't want to react when we're angry, and we want to have time to think about what will the consequence be for them not following through with my limits, with the limits we enforced. And it's also hard to deliver sincere empathy when you're upset. So this is where delayed consequences come in. So again, we start with empathy, and sometimes it'll sound forced, but trust me, there will be a moment where your repetitive, empathetic words will help you feel calm because it's conditioning, right, for yourself too. So when I say, oh no, this is sad, I really start to feel a little like empathetic. I'm gonna have to do something about this, but not now, later. Try not to worry about it. So imagine this mom. She was working. And this is something that can relate to you guys. You guys have your business and you're doing your Zoom call with your team, right? And she says, Mom is going to work from 6 to 7. You guys can be in the other room. You have many things that you can do that is calm and quiet so that I can work. Maybe you guys want to read, or you guys want to paint, or you guys want to watch some TV. Whatever you do, Mom's going to be working from 6 to 7, and I need peace and quiet. That was this mom's limit. And then the children start bickering and running around, and this mom just gets so annoyed because she's trying to be empathetic, like, okay, guys, remember and we want to try to not remind them as much, but it's okay to do it once or twice. Like, okay, everyone, remember I already said, like, Mom works from 6 to 7, and the children are still fighting and hitting each other, and this mom's just not having it. What can she do? Okay, she's upset and she's in a Zoom call and she can't look crazy. So she goes, oh no. She goes, hold on, friends, mutes. And then she goes, oh no, this is so sad. I'm going to have to do something about it. But right now, I can't think about it. So don't worry about it. You don't have to worry right now. The children at the beginning will be like, she's not going to do anything. She never does anything. But you will, because you want your children to learn that your limits and everyone else's limits are to be respected. So this is where delayed consequences come in. So this is the concept. You know that you have to follow through with a consequence. You have to decide what will be the consequence. You will give you and your child time to think, right? You're going to be thinking, okay, whose support do I need to enforce this consequence? Maybe you don't need anyone's support. Maybe you usually, if you live with other people, they need to know what's going to happen. If you have a partner or a spouse, you guys should be on the same page, okay? And then you're going to think, how is my child going to react? You need to know this because you have to be careful about where you're enforcing this consequence, right? If your child's going to throw themselves out the window, you don't want to say that in the car, right? So, okay, how is this? How are they going to react to this? Okay, can you follow through with the consequence? You always want to be able to follow through with what you say. This is why you're thinking you're giving yourself time to do a delayed consequence. And is your plan logical? It shouldn't sound too crazy. It shouldn't be like theatrical. It should be a real consequence. So this mom, when she's done with her Zoom call, she's gonna go and see the children and she's gonna say, I am, she already thought about a plan, right? And she thought, okay, so my children and I, we're gonna go to the movies tomorrow. But I don't think they should go to the movies anymore because they did not listen to my limit, and there should be a consequence, and they really wanted to go. It should be something that really teaches them a lesson that doesn't hurt them, right? This doesn't hurt. It bothers them, but it doesn't cause any harm, right? They're safe. It's just a consequence. You don't say anything because you told them, don't worry about it right now. Tomorrow, when they wake up, they're like, Mom, yes, we're going to go to the movies. You're going to say, or she's going to say, oh, remember yesterday? Remember yesterday how I didn't have time to work because I was worried about you guys hitting each other? Guess what? I'm going to use that time that we were going to go to the movies so that I could finish my work. And maybe it's not true. Maybe she doesn't have to finish work. But this is a consequence because they took time from her and energy and they really wanted to go to the movies. Did they earn that? I don't know that they did. And it's not about earning or deserving. It's more about, hey, Mom said something and you didn't listen. So now Mom doesn't want to go anymore because, or maybe Mom wants to go, but now Mom has to do something else. So the next time your child acts out, think about it and say it out loud. Try it right now with me. It's right here. And you can read it out loud, think about it, make it into your bahasa, you know, how it sounds best. But just practice, oh no, this is so sad. I'm gonna have to do something about it, but not now, later. We'll talk about it later. Or don't worry about it right now. And your child will be like, what is wrong with my mom? What is wrong with my dad right now? He's not gonna do anything. And then you will, because you're gonna think about it. And then you're gonna think about something that your child really likes or was looking forward to. And then you're gonna use this with empathy, guys. It's not about sarcasm, remember. Now, with very emotional, explosive children, it is probably wiser to say nothing until you have a plan and then the situation is safe and the child is not going to harm themselves. And then you come with the consequence. So if you have a child that is very explosive and you are in a Zoom call, you're not going to tell them that, oh, because they're going to be like, what? No, just ignore, think about it for yourself, and then deliver a consequence when it's safe to do, when it's safe to do so. So let's talk about power. Power. Everyone wants to have the power. And I want to invite you to let go of power by using enforceable statements, by giving your children options that you decide, like you decide what the options are, but you will help your child feel that they're making they are deciding what they want for them. So, enforceable statements are your limit that you say, you express in a positive way. It doesn't sound negative. You would never use the word no in it because your children, everyone, human beings hear the word no and they tune it out, especially children when they're so defiant. And that, remember, it's part of their nature. And it expresses what you expect from people, whether that's your children or whatever, your team. And that is a way to say, this is what I expect, this is what we do around the house. And if you don't do it, then there will be a consequence without having to say that. For example, your children do not want to eat breakfast. Instead of eat your food, you're going to be so hungry, and then you're going to be telling me that you're hungry, and I'm not going to cook you anything else because this is what we're having for food. You say, breakfast is served until 8 a.m. I am usually happier when I eat breakfast to hold me until lunch. I love you too much to fight with you about eating breakfast. You're saying things that you're telling them, eat your breakfast, but you're not using a direct statement, do this or else. It's like, this is what I would do, right? And in your head, you're thinking, okay, if this child does not eat the breakfast, I'm not going to cook anything until lunch. And they will not be able to eat a snack. I mean, it might sound a little scary, but is your child okay not eating a snack until lunch? Or, you don't have to starve your children. This is just an example. Or another thing you could do is if my child doesn't eat the breakfast, whenever he gets hungry and he wants to eat all of the granola bars, he's going to have to eat the breakfast that he didn't eat, right? It's just, oh, remember this was what we had for breakfast. Well, I don't want that. I want a granola bar. Oh, well, oops, this is what we have for food right now. So you can eat this, or you can wait until breakfast, and you're giving them options, right? If your child is whining and screaming, you can use, oh, I will listen to you. I will be so happy to listen when your voice is calm. And they're like, gah, like, but you're winning the power struggle because you're not fighting with them. If you have a teenager and they're just whining and screaming about driving your car because my friend drives his mom's car, and why can I drive the car? Oh, you can feel free to drive the car when you've made a deposit in my bank account that equals the amount of the insurance deductible. That's kind of a long one, but it's more like, hey, you can drive my car when you give me a deposit for the insurance, in case you get into trouble. Done. If is your child, does he have enough money to pay you? Okay, great. Do you still want him to drive the car? Then you decide. And there's so many other options right here. Let's go through the other ones. This one's good for when your children want to do something that you wouldn't really do, but it's not a big deal. For example, my daughter loves bringing a backpack wherever she goes, and it's full with toys, guys, just like a backpack packed with all of the little kitchen toys. And I'm just like, oh, why do you want to take that? But in my mind, I'm like, do I really want to have an argument about this? I don't. So, okay. So what can I say? Okay, you can take your backpack as long as you're responsible for it. I'm telling her, if you leave your backpack, I'm not going back for it. I'm not carrying your backpack. You take care of your backpack. And she's 3. And guess what? She doesn't forget her backpack. And when she has forgotten the toy, well, she loses the toy, unfortunately. There was an instance where she left something that was more valuable. And I talked to my cousin, and my cousin kept it for some time until she realized that she didn't have it. And then she was like, "Oh no, where is it?" And I was like, "Oh, this is sad. Where did you leave it?" And she was thinking, she was 3, you know. I was like, "Oh, maybe you left it at your aunt's house." And she's like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do?" Again, and that was a good moment because she was owning her. She's like, what am I gonna do, Mom? And I was like, maybe we can call your aunt and see if she has it. You know, like we were helping her through that thought process. But the bottom line is, when there's something that you don't really want to argue about, don't argue about it. Oh my goodness, it's already 7. Sorry guys, I'm gonna speed up. This is just so much content. Anyways, and I did mention options. When you are in a situation where you want to tell your children what to do, you give them options that you are okay with. For example, instead of asking, "What do you want for breakfast?" You shouldn't do that unless it's like unless you want to really please your child. But I can give my daughter 2 options. She's like, "I'm not hungry. I don't want breakfast." We eat breakfast in the morning so that we can be happy. Do you want to eat oatmeal or you want to eat banana? So I give her 2 options. She's like, I don't want anything. Do you want to eat oatmeal or do you want to eat banana? I want the oatmeal. Perfect. Do you want to help me make the oatmeal? And that's it. We don't have an argument. Sometimes it's difficult, but it works. Okay, it's time for bed. Mom, I don't want to go to bed. Do you want to go to bed now or in 5 minutes? Well, your child is going to say 5 minutes because they want 5 more minutes. And in your head, you're like, it's okay. I can give her 5 more minutes if I can. If I can't, then there's no argument. You know, we go to bed at this time, no argument, no bargaining. If you have a child that loves to argue, you can say, hey, I argue from noon to 3:15. In that time, your child is at school, so he's not here to argue. And it's just something comical, you know, to keep it light for yourself. It'll annoy the heck out of your child, but you say that and you're telling them, hey, you can come and argue with me at noon. You know, if you're here, I'm happy to come and argue with you. But you know that won't happen, right? And they won't remember to come at noon to argue, because as soon as you turn off the arguing, children usually forget, or they're like, forget it. There's no point. All right, guys. I am running behind, so let's just continue. Research shows that the primary element that contributes to success with kids, whether they're good, challenging, they're challenging a little bit, all kids are challenging, guys, is having a positive relationship between with an adult. with the adults in that child's life. And it also shows, that study shows that this relationship is developed better when the adult sets firm limits, because remember, limits help children feel safe. They help children feel taken care of, in all honesty. Um, while if you're showing sincere interest in that child's life. So if we want a good relationship with our children, it's not just about enforcing limits and telling them what to do without telling them what to do. It's also about, okay, these are my limits, but who are you? I want to get to know you. What do you like? Let's talk about your interests, how was your day? What did you do? Did you learn something new? Or what's your favorite show? Like, these things are important, and everyone wants to have a good relationship with their parents. I know I did, but I didn't get that from my parents. Anyways, so your relationship will blossom when you, as the adult, notice and accept your child as a unique person. You should never compare your children to each other or compare your children to someone else. That breaks your child's self-worth. Never do that. And if you have done that, please take a moment to apologize. It's okay to apologize. It's okay to be human. Um, it's okay. So you accept the child as unique. You let them know that you love them no matter what, but that you also expect for them to be great, for them to follow, to do better. That's also needed for a child, to know that they can do better, to trust that they can do better, right? All right, so when we're seeing the child, we're seeing, but not as your eyes, more as I see you, I know you, I love you. So think about, what are your child's non-academic strengths and interests? Something that doesn't have to do with school, because please don't put all of your focus on your child's academic development. They are more than that. What did they like to do? My daughter wakes up singing. I know she loves singing. So we do a lot of singing around the house. And that doesn't mean that I don't do limits. Sometimes I do have to remind her, like, hey, my love, I really appreciate your singing, but right now I have a headache. Could you sing a little lower? You know? So I'm appreciating her talent. I know that she likes to draw. Sometimes we sit down and paint together. So why I want you to write down 2 things that your child is good at, that doesn't have to do with school or what your child is interested about. And I also want you to think, what makes my child special? What makes this person special? My daughter loves to take care of people. She is very empathetic, and she is very attentive to people's needs. So I know that I have to be careful, because my daughter wants to please people a lot. Um, so I don't want her to live her life to try to please me, right? So we're trying to work that out. Parenting is hard. And then, to build your relationship with your child, once you have noted, what are these things that make my child special, let them know that you notice that they like to draw, without telling them, and that's great. This is why you want to let them know that you see them, that you notice what they like, without attaching anything, any moral to it, without telling them that that's good or that that's bad, because your children will continue to change and evolve. And I don't want my daughter to sing just because she knows mom likes my singing. If she hates singing tomorrow, that's okay too. I will love her no matter what. So can you practice with me? Hey, imagine that you're going to your child And this is my child, and I'm like, hey, I've noticed that you really like to sing. And that's it. My daughter will be like, oh, my mom really pays attention to me. Okay, this is kind of cool. And that might look a little weird. You don't have to be creepy. You don't have to try to be like me. But it's important for them to know that mom and dad, or my grandma or my aunt knows me. So let's talk about children that lack a little bit of motivation. These are the children that struggle a little bit with schoolwork, or they don't like to do their chores. They struggle with that, or they are just a little more challenging than maybe other children. And remember, every child is their own self. Everyone has their own thing to deal with, right? So remember.
Carla, sorry to interrupt here. Uh,
Yes.
would you please help us because we still have 20 more minutes actually, but we
Okay.
still don't answer some questions, right? What do you think,
Okay,
Ibu-ibu
let's.
sekalian, if we have another 10 minutes for
Yes.
finishing the presentation and then another 10 minutes to answer some questions? What do you think
Uh,
about that?
of course. Yes. I'm almost going to the part to, I'm like in the middle to the end. So we can talk about questions now or later whenever you want. So.
Okay, maybe we better finish your material first, and then I will ask some question chosen from the audience here.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yes, but we're almost done, guys. Thank you
Okay,
for
thank
speaking with us.
you.
Okay, so, and I know that some people raised their hands. We will get to your questions, guys. Okay, so children that are a little challenging, what do we do? Remember, end the control battle. Give them options. Um, give them options that they can feel, that you feel good about, and then be empathetic. Let them know that life is hard, and things are hard sometimes, and you love them no matter what, but that they still have to choose from these two things, or that they still have to take care of their responsibility, right? So we'll give an example when we go through these. Follow some basic guidelines for helping them without doing their work, whatever that means. Whether that's sweeping the floor because that was your child's turn to sweep the floor or do the dishes, or that's the homework, right? So figure out how you can help them without doing the stuff for them. Show them that success comes from determination and persistence, from doing and not succeeding, from trying and trying again. And give the gifts of responsibility and self-respect through contributions to letting them feel that they are useful. So, how do we end a control battle? Imagine there's this child that really struggles to do their reading. Their reading time is hard for them, and they're just not doing well. You can decide two things. You can either just not force them to read, that some parents, do let their child excel in their other areas. That's up to you. That's like your personal decision. But say that this child has to finish this reading and end the control battle. Give them an option. Hey, would you rather do this reading now or in an hour? Oh, I want to do it in an hour. I don't want to do it right now. Okay, we're going to set a timer. When that timer goes off, when that alarm goes off, it's time for reading. Are you going to follow through with that? You let them know that you're expecting them to follow through. Yes, mom, I promise. Okay, perfect. Then you trust that they will. And if the alarm goes off and most likely, maybe, hopefully, the child will sit down and do their reading because you gave them an option and you trust them to follow through. What about if the child does poorly? The alarm goes off and he sits down and he tried to read, but then he didn't finish. What do we do? Oh man, this sucks. This is so sad. I love you. I know that you can do this, but what are you gonna do about this right now? Are you gonna get a bad grade, or like, how are you gonna solve this? You know? And how can I help? You can offer help. Oh, mom, please call my professor. Please call my teacher. Tell them to please forgive me. Oh, honey, I'm sorry, I can't do that because I am not the student. Remember, you are the student. Let's try not to use no. Let's try to stay positive with the words. Um, Maybe tomorrow, you can say, maybe tomorrow, when you sit down to do your reading, I can also sit down and do my reading. How does that sound? That's a way to offer help. That's like the step number three. Maybe your child would like that. Maybe your child will not like that. So, or how can I help? Maybe tomorrow I can set another timer. Maybe that will remind you. Oh yeah, sure, mom. Okay, cool. Show them that success comes from determination and persistence. Hey, how did your reading go? It sucked, but well, I noticed that you sat down and you tried. And that tells them, hey, I won when I sat down and I tried to do the reading. That was a good win. Instead of, oh, I only win if I finish my reading. No, we don't want that because that's not real life. Sometimes in life, we're going to try something and it won't work, but we tried, right? And then finally, keeping your children involved in contributions at home. We call it contributions because everyone lives in this household and everyone contributes to the house. It's not that he's helping mom, or no, it's not helping. It's you live here, you made that mess, you can contribute and you can clean it up. And if we do responsibilities like that, children feel useful. They can start to gain their worth. They can feel part of a team. And people that are, children that are not motivated enough, when they feel that they do something good, they want to do more good. So it's reverse psychology, guys. So be careful not to do everything for your child and not to call it help. And also, if I should suggest something, don't pay your children for their contributions at home, because then you're teaching them that they're not part of that house. Um, just a thought. Okay, let's continue. When you teach your children, going back to this, that success comes from trying, and you say that to them, they will start to say that to themselves. And what they say, they will soon come to believe. What you say to yourself is what you believe about yourself. And we want our children to tell themselves, hey, I worked hard, I kept trying, I have been practicing. And that is the important part. Not winning, not getting the best grades. It's trying, it's doing it. Okay. So parents, how are you going to do all this? I don't know. You figure it out. Just kidding. We are going to do it because we're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to practice, but we're also going to take time for ourselves, and we're going to set limits for ourselves to take care of ourselves, to practice self-care. So self-care will give you ways to calm down and feel more confident. Parenting is difficult and we don't feel confident in parenting, most of us. And then we also neglect ourselves. And I invite you to change that. So, and this is focusing on when you're really overwhelmed with being a parent, when you're just done, when you don't know what to do, and when you're so angry, or like your children doesn't listen, and like you're still practicing this everything that I taught you, and you're learning it. Okay, let's take a breath, get curious. Breath work is powerful. Breath work is taught to people in the military here to learn to cope with their emotions, to learn to be more effective. So if you're in the heat of the battle, you should stop and breathe, you know? Notice what your body feels like inside and outside. Can you take a moment, go into the bathroom, like close the door, breathe. Can you smell? What are you smelling? Are you smelling your thief soap? Can you open up a bottle of essential oil and take a breath in? So this is the first step. Breathe. Ask yourself, how do I know that I'm overwhelmed? What does it feel like? Oh man, I'm tense. My chest is really tight. What do I feel right now? I have a headache. Okay. Next thing is grab your bottle of essential oil and breathe. Breathe it in. Whether that's a drop of lavender, frankincense, of sacred mountain, take your mind somewhere else. Take your mind to a happy place. Put a drop in, ground it. Mix it in your hand and then cup your nose and take at least 3 deep breaths and fill your lungs with it. And if you're using Sacred Mountain, which has spruce, ylang-ylang, balsam fir, and cedar wood, can you imagine that you are here in the mountains of Utah? Can you do that exercise? Can you take your mind somewhere else that you like? Whether that's like the beach or somewhere. What else? Love and care for yourself, your body, your stressed out parts. Okay, we have different parts of ourselves within us. You know, that's not to sound crazy, but we're made out of different parts. We have our past, we have our inner child in us. That's like who we were when we were children. There's our wise self, there's our scared self, there's our confident self, all of these parts. Okay, what am I feeling? And can you acknowledge the part of you that feels overwhelmed? And can you offer it some support? If you're feeling just too stressed out, where is that coming from? And how is it showing in your body? Is your skin dry? Are you clenching your jaw a lot? Are you like frowning your face too much? Is your heart pounding too fast? And then how can we soothe your body? How can we soothe and how can we tell ourselves that we are safe? You can start by hugging yourself or like using a weighted blanket and put it on your chest. You can hug a pillow. You can also just pamper yourself a little bit. Please do take some time to bathe. Can you use a bath bomb? Can you just set some time, really, like set a limit and tell your children that you're going to take a bath from this time to this time, and this time is for you, and you're not to be interrupted. And then, can you take a bath? Can you go into the tub and like lay there for 15-20 minutes with one of those bath bombs? The stress away smells so sweet and so calming. And lavender also, it's so soothing, like just very comforting. And then when you get out of there, can you clean your face? Can you apply some oil on your face and can you massage it really nicely? You can also do this at night after a very long and stressful day. Just give yourself love and tell yourself, hey, I'm safe. This was a hard day, but we can do it tomorrow. I'm going to go to sleep now and it'll be okay. Care for your nervous system. Your nervous system is so important that it can get you sick in an instant if your nervous system is out of balance. This can really harm your health. It affects your gut health. It affects your brain, your skin, your hair can fall off if you're too nervous. So the problem is that when we feel nervous and we feel that emotion, we don't finish the cycle. And emotions, I've heard some studies that say that emotions are cycles, and we usually stop the cycle in the middle and we don't finish the cycle. Every emotion has a start, has a middle, and it has an end. But we usually stop it in the middle because it feels too intense and we drown the emotion or we suppress it. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, the next time, I want you to remember my body is trying to tell me that there is danger. But if you look around and there isn't any danger, there's not a lion right in front of me, or there's not someone coming to kill me, then there is no danger right now. Can you tell your nervous system that you're okay? Can you talk to yourself? And can you ground yourself? Because when we're nervous, our unconscious is telling us that there's something going on, that we're gonna die, someone's gonna die, right? Or someone's gonna kill me. And that triggers you, freaks you out, and it leaves you exhausted. And then the emotion doesn't finish. So next time that you are overwhelmed, I want you to grab a drop of release, apply it right on your liver, right over your liver, and we're gonna massage it a little bit. And then we're gonna take some peace and calming and we're gonna roll it on our wrist and in the palm of our hands. And we're just gonna sit and we're gonna ground our feet, place them on the floor, and we're gonna take 5 deep breaths. And in that time of breathing, we're gonna repeat a mantra, whatever that means to you. You can pray, you can repeat a calming words to you. You can tell yourself, I am safe, I am okay, I am fine. We can use positive affirmations to remind ourselves that we're okay. And then we can also diffuse stress away whenever there's chaos in the house to just promote grounding and a calm environment. Remember that feelings are just feelings. Our feelings tell our bodies to do things. When we're feeling happy, we smile, we laugh, we feel good. When we're not feeling happy and we're feeling something else, we are feeling something else. Sometimes we get judgmental about our feelings. And we have to remember that most of the times feelings are just feelings, and we can allow ourselves to feel, and that feeling will not kill us. It'll go, it'll pass, because feelings are a cycle and they have a start, a middle, and an end. So when you're feeling something, make sure that you are not judging yourself, right? That you're not creating a story, because this is just a feeling. And usually what happens is that we feel overwhelmed and then we create a negative thought like, here I go again, feeling anxious. Why do I always feel like this? And then you feel overwhelmed. And then it's just this cycle that is very damaging. So when you're feeling something that is kind of hard, you have options. I really love applying valor over my heart. And surrender right behind my ears. I love doing that. And then bergamot on my wrist. And I just tell myself, hey, I acknowledge right now that I am feeling very nervous. I don't understand why I'm feeling like this, but um, this is just a feeling and it'll pass. I really enjoy doing the talking to yourself activity, even though it sounds weird to people, because you're talking to yourself, you're talking out loud so you can hear it. I like using essential oils because that's something tangible that I can touch and smell. Um, and then I'm also reassuring myself. And I am important, and I have to reassure myself, right? You are important, and you have to just let yourself know that you're safe, that that is fine, that this is fine, that you are doing it, and you're okay. And then finally, you have to seek connection when you're feeling overwhelmed. And sometimes, guys, that is what makes things better for me and my child. Sometimes we just need to hug, man. We're upset and whatever. And I forgot to be empathetic, and I talked to her in a really bad tone, and I right away I try to amend my mistake. I am a human being, and I'm telling you all of this, but I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I sometimes don't talk to her the right way, but I know that it is important to say I'm sorry, because then she learns, hey, my mom did something wrong. That means that she's human. So that means that I can do things that are not okay and I will still be okay, you know? And I know I'm learning from her that I can ask for forgiveness and all of the things that happen when you say I'm sorry. It's more than just the words. It's the empathy, it's the connection, and then my stress lowers. My immune system gets stronger when we hug each other. I feel less sad, you know, and then we can make it a good moment. We can joke about it, we can laugh, we can tickle each other. And another thing that you should do, try to do as much as you can a priority, is to play. But I'm not talking about play on your computer or your with a doll. If that's what you like to do, that's okay. But I'm saying play is anything that doesn't involve work that you enjoy doing. You know what play is for me? Cooking. Cooking is playing for me. It's therapeutic when I'm not tired, because if I'm tired, I'm not interested. And that's why we have to take care of our emotions so that we can create space to feel good, to play. And so when we are seeking connection, I love to diffuse joy, and I also love to apply it as my personal perfume. I apply it on my chest and right behind my ears. It smells delicious. It's one of those aromas that remind me of spring and beauty and the best weather, and I can imagine myself um, walking in nature. It's so great. And also, white angelica is one of my favorites to just promote a good environment and overall very inspiring and super connecting. Oh, yes. Finally, please pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. I know that our critical voices inside of us are trying to protect us. They want to protect us from judgment or from what people are going to say. They're trying to protect us. But please, please, please remember that we are more than what we hear inside of us or what we were told when we were growing up. So acknowledge them and notice the intention. If you hear yourself like, oh, I'm such a oh, I'm not smart enough, or like this always happens to me. Okay, so just acknowledge that you have that thought and then say, hey, everyone's figuring this out together. No one's perfect. Just reassure them, reassure your inner talk, right? Um, and then when you're having moments of, critical inner talk, make sure that you think about good things that you know about yourself, things that you appreciate about yourself. And you can use that while applying inspiration on your heart. You can take some time to give some self-love to yourself and apply some ylang ylang in your face with some V6 or vegetable oil and massage it really well. You can apply clarity to your temples to open your mind and think clearly, right? We want to think clearly. I want to give you a challenge, and it's to write 3 things you're grateful for every day. There was a study that was done here in the United States that showed that gratitude has direct effects on your quality of life, um, lowers your stress, and improves mental health. Gratitude is important. And whether that's you praying every day or every night, I don't know if you guys are religious or spiritual, you don't have to be religious. Um, it's something good to do. It helps you, it boosts your spirit, it makes you feel better. And move your body, whether that is doing exercise or that is walking. Moving your body is important to finish the cycles of emotions. In fact, when you're feeling really overwhelmed, maybe this should be your first step. Moving your body helps your body to let go of adrenaline, which is something that happens. It's a hormone that flushes our bodies when we're feeling really overwhelmed. So maybe this should be your first step. And when you're moving your body, you have products that can promote, that can help you support this movement. If you're feeling a little like not inspired to move, start by diffusing some citrus fresh. Yeah, play some music, diffuse some citrus fresh, apply some peppermint on your heart. I love peppermint on my heart and on my temples because it wakes me up. It gives me a little bit of boost, gives me some energy. And so when I'm sweating, if I'm doing any exercise, and I have peppermint on my chest, I can smell it. And so it keeps me like up and moving. And then before my movement or during my movement or right after, I take some Ningxia Red. Ningxia Red is delicious. It tastes so good. And it has so many amazing ingredients, really, really good fruit, juices, and purees that are amazing. And deep relief is awesome for after movement. It's so soothing and awesome. We're almost done, guys. I just want to remind you, okay, we are expecting all of these from our children. We want to help them be better. We want to help them listen. We want to help them to succeed in life. We have to think about, are my children's needs being met? And with that, I'm not talking just like, hey, am I giving them food? It's more about, okay, do they feel safe? Are they emotionally safe? Or am I being emotionally rigid? Am I being emotionally abusive in some ways? Yeah. Do they have limits, consistent limits? So if I tell my child to not touch this cup today, and then tomorrow I give her the cup, she's not going to understand my limits. If you say that you go to bed at 7, then you go to bed at 7, unless there's something special. If you tell your children that breakfast is served until 8 and that everyone will have to wait till lunch, and then you give them a snack in the middle of the day, where is the limit? What is your limit? And does your child understand your limits? Respect Do you respect your children? Do they feel loved and respected? Children are human beings. They deserve to be respected. Yeah? Do they feel that they have some control over their lives? Can they pick their outfits? Do you give them options? This is important. That's why options are so important, because it teaches them that they have control over their lives. That is important. Can you imagine feeling out of control, that you can't control anything, not even what you can eat? So remember, give them options that you are okay with, but always options, so that they don't say crazy stuff like, I want to eat for breakfast ice cream. No, that's not an option. The option is these two things. What do you want? Um, do they have a sense of being important and needed? And this is where contributions in the house come handy, because if your child feels that they are needed, that they are important, that they have a purpose, they will most likely thrive in life. It'll lower depression, and children go through depression, not all of them, but that is something that they can experience. It's important for them to feel useful and needed. And the belief, do they have the belief that hard work will lead to success? Not winning, not succeeding, but hard work leads to success, whatever that means. Um, just want to remind you or tell you one of my favorite quotes. The most important job you and I will do will be within the walls of our own homes. And that includes us too. So it's not just with our children, but with us. That is the end of my presentation. We can touch on questions. I am so sorry that it took me so long to get through this through this content. That was a lot. Woo. All
It's
right.
okay. Awesome talk, Carla. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Mm.
Okay, so when Carla talk about something therapeutic and relaxing, she's talking about one of her thing, which is cooking. And believe me, guys, she cooks really well. Very well and very tasty. So Carla, I will never forget your guacamole, remember?
Oh
Oh,
yes, that was so good.
the
That was so
guacamole was so good and she cooks it with vitality. Yeah. So
yes, I
it was
do.
really, 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 really tasty, and I will never forget about it. Once
Ah,
when we have another summit, I really do hope I can try that guacamole.
oh, me too. Me too.
Okay. Uh, everybody's saying thank you to you, Carla. So I will pick three questions
Yeah.
due to the time limit. I will
Mm-hmm.
pick only three questions. The first one is from Ibu Anna. How about if our children does not respect limit or boundaries because they know that their parents are not capable of giving any punishment because they know parents love them unlimitedly. And
Okay.
because sometimes if parents do give punishment, they can go to their grandparents. They
Mm,
know sometimes in front of the grandparents, they will instantly lose our integrity, right? So this manipulative attitude passed from generation to generation. Mother
mm-hmm.
who come from different community completely lost and whatnot.
That's right. Well, this is the thing, guys. Limits, it's never too late to enforce limits. And this was gonna be like a new experience. Just like when you started using essential oils, it's
Hmm.
a learning curve. And yes, sure, there's other people that will be changing the dynamics. But with mom and dad, when you start teaching them your limits, they will have no other choice because those are your limits. When grandma is around, things will be a little different and you're going to have to bite your tongue, right?
Hmm.
But your relationship with your children do not depend on other people.
Hmm.
This is your agreement with them. And if you have boundaries, when you apply the delayed consequence, when you apply the enforcement, the enforceable statements,
Hmm.
when you stop trying to take control from them and you learn to give them options and you learn to not argue, which we talked about, then they will learn that this is the only way with you. Yeah.
Okay,
Like
okay.
there's gonna be a point in time when they're gonna be like, there's no point arguing with my mom because
Mm,
this is what she said, and I'm just gonna either I'm gonna break the limit and I'm gonna have a consequence,
mm,
or I'm just gonna do the thing. And so they will that's also a choice for them. Do they want to break your limit? And then what are you gonna do about that?
mm,
Are you gonna keep your boundary and you're gonna enforce the consequence?
mm,
That's okay. Loving your child enough doesn't mean not having consequences. Remember, if you don't teach them consequences, that hurts them. It hurts them in the future. It teaches them that um, that the world works different, and the
mm.
world works with consequences. You
Yes.
do something, there's something happens. If you don't go to work and you get work late, you're gonna be fired, right?
Mm,
That's life. So what do? We teach them now that limits are set to protect them and everyone. So I know this is going to be challenging. Just start slow, do it. Do it. It'll work. It'll work, I promise. I promise, guys.
it's like essential oil. Start slow.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I love that, Lisa.
Okay, and the second question, Carla, I hope it makes sense, Ibu Ana, and I hope it answer your question. And the second one is from Ibu Melinda. Is it too late? Is it too late if I set the setting limits for my daughters that her age now is fifth and fourth?
No, it's not too late.
Mm,
You can do this. Start today. Start with one thing. I like what Lisa said. You start slow. Pick one thing that you're going to work on. And then when you master that, then you move on to the other. Start with empathy. Oh, no. Start with that. Like, oh, man. And now what are you gonna do? Just start practicing that. And then they're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Please, mom, do this for me. And then you can start with the responsibility, like, well, okay. Or you can start with limits.
mm,
Okay, guys, today I'm gonna work from 7 to 8 and I need calm time. And you know that they're not gonna respect that time. So then you start thinking about, okay, what could be a consequence?
mm,
Did I promise ice cream tomorrow? Okay, I'm gonna wait until tomorrow. And then when they're like, Mom, you promised we're gonna give us ice cream, then you can use your delayed consequence. Oh,
mm,
remember yesterday when oh man, I really, really wish that you guys would have respected that time. But now, because I feel so tired from your arguing yesterday, I don't want to go get the ice cream today. Maybe we'll try that another day. What? No, you're so mean. Oh yeah, we'll try tomorrow. And that's okay. And it'll be fine. And that's also going to be a learning process for you as a parent, because it's so hard to say no to our children. But it's going to be fine. Ice cream is not going to kill them. Oh, hi. He's so cute. Oh my goodness. Okay, what other question do we have?
Okay, the other question would be, Uh, I think about delay consequences from Ibu Cecil Lilo. Actually, Carla already answered in the previous presentation, just
Hmm,
delaying, but it doesn't mean we don't give punishment. Later
right.
on, we will give the
Mhm.
appropriate one for them,
Yes.
right?
Mhm. And it's not,
And
and it shouldn't be seen as a punishment.
yeah,
Remember, it's a consequence. And this
consequences.
is what happens, right? It's not, if you see it as punishment, they will see it as punishment. They'll resent you, and they are not going to understand what a consequence is. They're just always going to think, my mom is doing this to me, or my dad is doing this to me, or my teacher is doing this to me. And it's more about, no, what did I do that caused this consequence?
Totally agree with that, Carla. Because Ibu Cecilio actually asked, when we delay consequences, will it not become a drag to giving discipline? As the teenagers especially will think that he or she can always break a limit and knows that mom is okay with it and will not give a punishment. What do we do to deal with this?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Right.
you already answered that in your presentation, right?
Yes, yes, I did.
Okay. One last thing from Ibu Dinar. How do you set the perfect limit as not to be seen too soft for being too easy on your children,
Mm,
or not to be seen so cruel because you're being too
right.
hard on them? So how do you set the perfect limit actually?
So let's remember that limits are something that work for you as a parent and that also work for your children. And then when we're working with consequences, we're going to start with things that we can actually do. And we don't want to be cruel, right? We want to well, that depends on the situation, because if your child breaks a wall of the neighbor, that's going to be a big consequence. You're going to have to sit down and think about it, but it'll be on them. But for example, for my 3-year-old, what can she do that is so bad? Right now, not much, because she's so little. The consequences are difficult for her, but not cruel in the sense of, oh my gosh, the world is ending.
Mm,
So your limits, you set them to protect yourself and others and your home in general. So let's talk about the fighting between brothers and sisters. There has to be a clear limit that in your home, hitting each other is not allowed.
mm, mm,
That's a clear limit. What happens when they break that limit? Someone can be hurt, right? Okay, what if one of the children hurts the other? Then you sit down and you have to put um, uh, consequences for that action. So you work on, depending on the severity, the
mm,
damage, right? Okay, you hurt your brother. We said that in this house, we do not allow fighting. Unfortunately, this is very, very difficult to deal with. Now your brother has a black eye, and I had to use my oils, and it was really, really scary. So for the next 2 weeks, um, and this is delayed and it will work for you. What do you do? For the next 2 weeks, I'm sorry, but the TV is off limits. Or if your child likes TV and it's like really, really engaged with TV, what does your child like? There has to be a consequence that helps them think. Or I don't know, it really has to work for you. For my daughter, a big, big consequence is not sleeping with her baby doll. You
mm,
know,
mm,
sometimes we have to say, oh no, this is so sad. At nighttime, when she's asking for her baby doll, we say, oh, remember how earlier you did this and this? Yeah, your baby doll can't sleep in the room tonight because we are so sad that we need a baby doll to sleep with. She understands that. And she's like, what? I'm like, but it's just a really sad thing. And I'm going to have to keep the baby doll tonight because I need to feel better. She's going to be like, oh my gosh. And then the next morning, she's like, okay, can I sleep with my baby doll tonight? She understood that consequence, and sometimes the baby doll doesn't work and we have to do something else.
mm, mm,
Whether that's we're not going to watch more TV today or something that is really important to her at the moment. Because remember, children change in what they like. Some days my daughter could care less about the baby doll, but some days it's really important. So it's not to be cruel. Consequences are opportunities to learn, And what will seem very cruel today, it's really not a big deal compared to what could happen in the future. So a baby doll today might sound a little cruel, but tomorrow or in 10 years, maybe that have taught her so that we don't have to go to the prison to take her out, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, so true, Carla, so true. So thank you so much for your presentation. All of the questions are here. And Ibu-Ibu, actually Carla, formerly before Carla joined our education team, Carla actually joined our R&D team, right, Carla?
Yes.
So Carla is one of our scientists. That's
Mhm.
why, because Carla was one of our scientists in R&D team, she explained very good about our oils. That's why it was so very clearly about the oils and the function and the benefit of our oil. So again, thank you so much, Carla, sharing with us your specialty, your knowledge, and of course about the oils, about the psychology of children, and how do we parenting with young living. And please don't
Yeah.
forget, ibu-ibu sekalian, we also need to take care of ourselves
Yes,
because that's
please
very
take care of
important.
yourselves, people.
And Carla already show us how to take care of our children and how to take care of ourselves. So please take care of yourself. Don't forget about it. How can you take care of your children if you cannot take care of yourself?
That's right.
Remember that and take care of yourself with Young Living Essential Oil and all of our products. Love
Yes.
it so much, Carla. Okay, Carla, we are going to end this session. Sarangeo, Carla. Do you have another Ibu-Ibu, before Carla leave, you can say whatever you think about the session, and Carla, maybe you can say your thank you and gratitude for Carla's session today. And before we end the session, Carla, yeah, we are so blessed to have Young Living Oil with us. Do you
Right.
have something, a message you want to tell us here for us in Indonesia?
I I am so happy for you guys for your growth. We have heard amazing stories about how you guys are just pushing forward in these times of crisis. It's so inspiring uh, to to see you all thrive and to wake up at 6 in the to at 5 to do this. It was so exciting to do it. So I love you all. You guys are awesome and keep moving forward and you can do it. We can all do this together. Yeah?
Yes, of course, we can do this together. Thank you so much, Carla. Thank you so much for your time because we really appreciate your time waking up at 5, getting ready, and at 6, you already look so fresh and share with us so many valuable things. So, we
Awesome.
really do appreciate that. Please
Mm,
send our best for Eva and also for your husband and
thank
also for
you.
all of the education team right over there.
Bye everyone.
Okay, bye everyone.